Hello and welcome to our Florida podcast. My name's Kaylee. I'm one of your hosts. I share stories about Florida's history, the people that have called our state home.
I'm your host, Mae, and every other Monday I share about Florida's unique wildlife and ecosystems or current events impacting Florida.
Okay, so I'm so excited. We have a weird one today. Megan has been working very, very hard on the FWC videos and doing lots and lots and lots of research. So I thought I would lighten it up with some weird, fun, quirky, kooky Florida history. And so I led myself to a Florida man story for you all.
I'm excited.
I made this with your intention, and I can't wait to see how you feel about this story. I think generally everyone probably has a favorite Florida man story. Like some of mine are Florida man climbs on a traffic light and shits on the cars below. I think the headline used defecate, but Florida woman pulls an alligator out of her yoga pants. There are plenty.
Wow.
There's like Florida man throws alligator through drive-through window. There's so many. Have you actually heard there's a Florida man horoscope game?
Oh, I have heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah, you type in Florida man and your birthday and see what news article comes up.
Did you do it? Did you do both of ours?
Did not do both of ours. I should have done yours too. I can do it too real quick.
Jerk.
We can do it real quick. Mine was a guy who just got out of jail for theft and then started trying all the cars in the parking lot until one opened and stole $534 worth of stuff out of the jail's parking lot and then got arrested. I mean, all of this is like within minutes of being released. Was my June 30th Florida man story. I should have looked yours up too. Hold on. Do you have any favorite ones that stick out to you, like headlines that you've...
I'm going to sound like a non-Floridian when I say this, but truthfully, I don't think I know hardly any.
Florida man found guilty of felony and misdemeanor charges for conduct during January 6th Capitol breach. Is yours.
I'm here for it. I'm not mad about it.
Oh, wait. Oh, there's one higher. Oh, no, that's bad.
I don't want to...
No, we don't want to talk about that one. That one's gross. Anyways. Well, that became a bummer. All right. Anyways, this is a very Florida man story before I think Florida man technically existed, and it wasn't what I was going for. Like, while we're joking and everything, I do find the story quite disturbing, so I want to, like, preface that. The story of what actually happened is not, like, a joke, but it's freaking weird and kooky and weird Florida for sure. Yeah.
We know where I stand on certain aspects of, like, horror and creepy things, right?
Yeah. This is right on the edge.
Are we just ignoring it?
It's right on the edge.
Okay, so we just chose to ignore it today. Alright, cool. So if I can't sleep tonight, I call you.
I mean, don't you anyways?
Yeah. Okay, for the record, I call Kaylee for everything, and I mean everything. There are days that we just talk like 6 times a day. Sometimes for like a minute at a time, sometimes for still like an hour at a time. But we do, for the record.
Yeah.
If this makes it in the podcast.
If you can't tell from our voices, we are sisters.
Yeah.
Very much. All right, let's start. George Karl Tanzler, known as Karl Tanzler, was born on February 8th, 1877 in Dresden, Germany. I don't know a whole lot about his early childhood. I do know that the German Empire was newly formed around that time and that he had frequent visions of an ancestor who visited him in his dreams. This visitor was a noble countess, Anna Constantia von Brockdorff. Don't come at me, I don't know German. Who was also known as the Countess of Kozel. She had lived from 1680 to 1765, so she was dead 112 years before Karl was born. So I read conflicting reports on what these visions were. Some seemed to believe that he was infatuated with her beauty, dark hair, dark eyes, and pale skin. Other reports seemed to allude that this relative told him he would find and fall in love with a foreign woman with such features. Either way, young kid, like 9 or 10 years old, having visions of fancy, noble, ancient relative visiting him in his dreams and determining his personal beauty standards. Not great, but I mean, who amongst us hasn't had a weird recurring dream?
I'm so confused on how this correlates to Florida, man.
I know, we're in Germany talking about a countess visiting this kid in his dreams, yeah. So Karl ends up getting into sailing, and according to his own account, this is a direct quote of something that he wrote, he traveled from India to Australia with the intention of proceeding to the South Seas Islands. He paused in Australia to collect equipment and suitable boats and to become acquainted with prevailing weather and sea conditions. However, he became interested in engineering and electrical work there, bought property, boats in Oregon, an island in the Pacific, so that he was still in Australia at the end of 10 years. So I don't know very much about his family, but they seem pretty affluent if he can, as a young man, get into sailing and then go to Australia and buy an island in the Pacific and in Oregon. He had just begun to build a trans-ocean flyer when the war broke out and British military authorities placed him in a concentration camp for safekeeping, along with many officers, India and China who were prisoners of war. Later, he was removed to Trial Bay to a castle-like prison on the cliffs, and there the work in his narrative was accomplished. At the end of the war, no prisoner was permitted to return to his former residence, but all were shipped to the prisoners' exchange in Holland. So he's sailing around doing his unencumbered young man things, goes to Australia to buy supplies, learn what's up with the weather, and then war breaks out, and he's an enemy ally, so he ends up in an internment camp at Trail Bay Jail. Jail in this case is spelled Gaol, by the way. I don't love that.
Yep.
Yep. And then 2 quick fun facts about this jail. It was actually a blueprint for modern jails with an emphasis on cleanliness, including individual cells. He's there with other Germans, Indians, and Chinese. It's an internment camp, and I don't want to gloss over anyone's experience in jail, but it seems that this was a pretty decent place to spend World War I as a young man. It was a lot of important/wealthy and noble men. They had a fair bit of freedom within the walls of the jail. There were amenities like tennis courts, and Karl did a lot of writing, including his experience, which was the passage that I just read, and arguably a much better experience than getting fed into machine gun fire in the Great War. So,
Touche.
I don't, like I said, it's still an internment camp, and it's still pretty messed up to put people in camps or jails based on their ethnicity. Generally, that's my stance. But I think this worked out pretty well for him. He could play tennis and write and just chill out in Australia while the war happened. At the end of the war, prisoners were not allowed to return to their property in Australia and instead were exchanged for other prisoners and sent to Holland. After arriving in Holland, he set out to find his mother. He was with her for 3 years and witnessed how bad things were in Germany after the war. So during this time, Tanzler marries Doris Schaefer.
Stop. Don't. Okay. All right.
Crossing the line again.
Crossing lines. So many lines. All the lines. There's no line to be had.
All right, so Doris was born in 1889 and was 11 years younger, which I'm just pointing out the age gaps because I'm not forgiving them in this episode. We're just gonna point them out. So 11 years older, and together they had 2 children, Aisha Tanzler from 1922, who lived till 1998, and Clarista Tanzler, who died at the age of 10 of diphtheria. But after hanging around Germany for 3 years and seeing just how bad things are in Germany at his time, his mother encourages him to immigrate to the United States, where his sister has already moved just a few years before. Which brings us to Florida. So in 1926, he ends up settling in Zephyr Hills, where his sister was, and his wife and kids come and join him. But by 1927, he took a job as a radiology technician at the U.S. Marine Hospital in Key West, left his wife and kids in Zephyr Hills, and started going by the name Karl von Kossel. So he starts working as this radiology technician in Key West. I have no idea when he learned to become a radiology technician. I guess schooling didn't take as long. I genuinely do not know. But he is now going by a different name, Karl von Kossel, and leaves his wife and 2 young kids in Zephyr Hills, living near his sister.
Nice. Classy guy.
On April 22nd, 1930, while working at the Marine Hospital in Key West, Tanzler met Maria Elena Milagro de Hoyos, a 21-year-old Cuban-American who was brought in by her mother for an examination. Tanzler, who is her doctor, or at least her radiology tech, and who is 33 years her senior, immediately recognizes her as the exotic love from his visions. Gross.
Ick. Red flag.
So many red flags. Now, unfortunately, aside from Elena being 33 years younger and them both being technically married, Elena is diagnosed with incurable tuberculosis.
Suspicious.
So as a reminder, Karl's wife is still alive, living in Zephyr Hills and taking care of their daughters. Elena was married, but after she suffered a miscarriage, her husband abandoned her with her family and went to Miami. So the men are not showing up so hot in this episode. To his credit, I guess, Karl will be extremely devoted to Elena. Despite not being a doctor and being a radiology tech, he tends to Elena daily. He attempts to cure Elena with a variety of treatments, remedies, x-rays, and other medical equipment that were brought to the Hoyos home. Tanzler also showered Elena with gifts of jewelry and clothing and allegedly professed his love to her almost daily.
Gross.
This may shock you, but Elena, who is dying of tuberculosis, never actually reciprocates any of this love. There's no proof that she ever was like, oh, yes, I love you too. By all accounts, from what I'm gathering, is like you have this beautiful 21-year-old girl who has given a death sentence but being diagnosed with tuberculosis in the 30s. And then the guy who is supposed to be her doctor is old enough to, like, who is 33 years older than her, just becomes freaking obsessed with her and starts doing house calls and buying her jewelry and buying her perfume and trying out all these weird, I'm sure, quack science remedies on her, bringing her tinctures and bringing an x-ray machine to her home, which I can only imagine how dangerous that is. And she's just in the care of her parents and, like, questionable decisions on the parents' point, but I also want to point out that they are immigrant family. They're a Cuban immigrant family. Her dad is working as making cigars and stuff, so they don't have very much money, and this wealthy white benefactor is coming in and bringing and professing, and, like, I feel like, and to a certain degree, their hands are kind of tied, and, like, this guy has, like, there's definitely a power imbalance. Like, this guy is supposed to be a medical professional, and if he's willing to try, no one else is willing to try. And sure, he loves her, but, like, I mean, that's weird, but my daughter's dying, we'll try anything is kind of the impression I get. So
Basically, he sounds like a stalker, but can't be a stalker because we know who he is, but he's a stalker.
a grade A stalker. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
there we go, yeah.
Obsessive, like, love bombing. I don't know, I'm just using social media words now.
Love bombing is such a thing, though.
Yeah, well, he's doing that to this dying, barely not child. But unfortunately, Elena, like many at the time, succumbed to her illness and died on October 25th, 1931, at the age of 22 years old. Yeah. Tuberculosis is not great. Tanzler paid for her funeral, and with the permission of her family, he then commissioned the construction of an above-ground mausoleum in the Key West Cemetery. So he's like, I'll pay for the funeral. We're gonna make this beautiful mausoleum. I think it's like marble and stuff in the cemetery. And then after her death, Karl went to the mausoleum and sat with Elena every night, talking to her, singing to her, and he would later report that she was talking to him and told him to take her from the grave. One night in April of 1933, a year and a half after her death, Tanzler brought a toy wagon to the graveyard and removed her corpse from the tomb.
Well, that takes away the thought that maybe she's still alive, so.
No, oh, like a fake death scenario?
Yeah, at first, that's kind of what I was thinking when you said that. I was like, well, interesting.
Supposedly she's gonna die, yeah.
Yeah.
Nope, she dies for real. And after a year and a half of visiting her every night in the mausoleum and the graveyard at night, he takes her. Tanzler took her body home and attached the bones with piano wire, added glass eyes, and when her skin started to come off, used silk and plaster to restructure her body. He replaced her hair with some of her hair that her mother had given him. Once again, I don't know the story here. Very questionable. But I don't know. I imagine he probably, like, badgered her and she's like, here's some hair. Like, take it. So he makes a wig out of her own hair. He stuffs her body with rags so it can keep its form and starts buying ladies' clothes and perfume.
Dude, this is a Criminal Minds episode. This is a Criminal Minds episode.
We don't think he killed her, but
well,
yeah, it's pretty.
Was there any science saying that she had tuberculosis?
I mean, it's not a hard sell that someone in the 1930s had tuberculosis. One of her sisters dies of it too later or before.
Okay.
I think before. Right. So it's pretty common. Actually, I have I think it's John Green. It's one of the Green brothers just wrote Everything is Tuberculosis. And I'm very excited. It's like how it plays a role in history and stuff. And I'm like number 160 in the library queue to read that book. So I'll get back to you guys in like a year. But yeah, I don't think definitely believe she had tuberculosis and stuff. But anyways, either way, she is dead. He takes her body. Locals start talking when they notice that he doesn't go to the cemetery anymore, and that was something he had done every night for a year and a half. Shopkeepers notice the perfume and makeup purchases, and reportedly one local kid notices him through a window dancing with what they thought was a life-size dummy at one point. It's getting
Gross.
suspicious. He's getting sloppy. But it's going to take until October of 1940 for Florinda, Elena's sister, to catch wind of the rumors about Tanzler and confront him. She reportedly entered the house and found her sister's body in Tanzler's bed and called the authorities.
Smell.
Dude, get this too. Like, think about this. So, 1931, she dies. 1933, he takes her body. 1940, it gets reported. That's 7 years.
Okay, that's a really long time for that to finally get reported.
Yeah. And it seems like the sister had to just be like, I keep hearing these rumors, I'm coming in, and then comes in and finds that. Like, can you imagine?
It's traumatizing.
Yeah. Okay, so Tanzler is arrested and goes under a psychiatric evaluation and is found mentally competent to stand trial. He is initially charged with wantonly and maliciously destroying a grave and removing a body without authorization. So he's charged with, like, grave robbery. But get this, the charges would ultimately be dropped because the statute of limitations for the crime was expired.
Stop.
He wasn't charged with possession of a corpse or defiling a corpse or anything like that. And look, if you're a lawyer and you know what he could have actually been charged with, please email us because I don't know. But he was charged with grave robbery that happened 7 years ago. So statute of limitations is already up.
The way that I'd be so mad, the way that when he died, karma would become a bitch.
Yeah.
For the
So-
record, I don't condone grave robbery, for the record.
No,
But
I don't
I'm just
think that's-
saying that if roles were reversed and I was a sister that walked in on my sister, karma would be a bitch. Just for the record. Kaylee,
Thank
your
you.
death would be avenged. You're welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I expect the same in return.
Of course, yeah, same, sorry.
Okay. Granted, I don't plan to be in the ground, but I do expect.
Oh, man. All right. So, authorities, physicians, pathologists examine Elena's body and put it on public display because why not? It's 1940. So, as many as 6,800 people come to view it. I saw like some people saying that, and I didn't find real evidence of this, but there are some people that say that schools were let out early so that they could go see the body.
It's the 1940s. I believe it.
Yeah.
And in Florida, I believe it.
Yeah. But Elena's body was eventually returned to the Key West Cemetery, where the remains were buried in an unmarked grave in a secret location to prevent further tampering. Her body was said to have been dismembered and placed in a metal box.
If she haunts the Keys, I don't blame her.
No, I don't blame her.
I don't blame her. And I would support it. I think it was promote, and I was like, that's not the right word. I would support it truthfully, even though I don't condone haunting people either. I would support it. Haunt men. Go after men. Leave me out of it. Leave women out of it, please. But go after the men. I would fully condone and support it.
I'm gonna send you a picture real quick that we can get like the full effect, because we have pictures of things because it was on full display. So that is just from the Wikipedia page.
Where was it on display at?
The Dean Lopez Funeral Home.
Oh no. Oh no.
That's Karl. And that's yeah, that's her after death.
Pesk. Gross.
It's a shame too, because she was so beautiful. Also, like, it's just so creepy. Like, she didn't want any of that. She wasn't in love with him.
Yeah, it's not like there's not some like weird, crazy love story there. It seems that actually he, like we said, he was a stalker and
He was a creep
that had money, and her parents said, "Cool, go for it." Most likely.
Yeah, and it also annoys me too that like she doesn't even really get like that. Like, once again, I'm not a big like I want to be buried in this way or I have to be cremated. Like, I don't know. I'm dead. I'm dead. And we would disagree on this, but I still think it's pretty messed up that like she never got peace. Like her body never got peace. Yeah.
If I die first, I'm gonna haunt you and make you change your mind. I don't know how to make you change your mind, but I'm gonna haunt you.
Thank you.
Yeah, there you go. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I
Okay.
can threaten. That's it.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Maybe I'll have your body interred in the ocean then.
That's rude.
Just kidding.
There was a line, okay?
They're gonna haunt me. I'm gonna earn it. All right. Like after all that, like her body can't even like go back to where it's supposed to be. It's got to be like cut up and put in a metal box to be buried in a secret location. So that way this weirdo doesn't continue harassing her in death. Like
Take
her
a turn
poor
of events
sister.
here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one poor sister, but two. Making men making us change the way that we would do things, or the way that we can be peaceful or interact in a day-to-day, or even not even a day-to-day after we are dead, messing it all up. That's all I'm gonna say. I think enough can be said there that you can, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Okay. So what also is really messed up and really irritates me is that the facts underlying the case and their preliminary hearing drew much interest from the media at the time. Of course, like the media is all over this, and it created a sensation among the public, both regionally and nationwide, and the public mood was generally sympathetic to Tanzler. They viewed it as an eccentric romantic.
No, no.
Even death couldn't keep them apart, you know?
That was not mutual.
Was not mutual. He was just a creep. He was just a creep defiling a corpse. Which brings me to my next point where I want to proceed with caution because A, it's gross, and B, the evidence is like a little odd. So we got two physicians, Dr. DePoo and Dr. Foraker, who attended the 1940 autopsy of Elena's remains. They recalled in 1972, so 32 years later, they shared that the vaginal tube had been inserted into that area so that sex intercourse could happen.
I had a feeling you were gonna say that.
I know. I know. People will argue that because that evidence wasn't presented in 1940 that it's not true, it's just sensationalized, and so therefore it's like not really proof. But I don't find it unbelievable.
Great.
I don't want to think about it much more than that. But yeah, I don't find it unbelievable. Yeah.
I
So
hope she haunts him.
I think he'd like it. Like he's been haunted by
You know
this
what? You're
lady
right.
forever, you know?
You're right,
Since he
actually.
was
I
like
hope she
9.
doesn't.
I hope she gets rest.
Yeah, peace, quiet.
Islands. Oh, man. All right. In 1944, Tanzler moved back to Pasco County, Florida, close to Zephyr Hills, where he wrote an autobiography that appeared in the pulp publication Fantastic Adventures in 1947. So
Are you
he
gonna read
write.
that book?
No, I'm not. I am
Oh,
not going to read this weirdo stories.
touche.
I just find it so annoying that he gets made out to be like this romantic guy who gets away with this crime and then moves back near his wife, not ex-wife, still wife, and writes a book that gets published in these pulp fiction magazines, these thriller magazines, which I'll send you a picture to include a picture of like this one. Um, and then his home was near his wife Doris, who helped to support Tanzler in his later years. Tanzler received his United States citizenship in 1950 in Tampa. Even once he moved back and Elena's daughter was taken, he used a death mask to recreate a life-size effigy of Elena and lived with it until his death at age 75 on July 3rd, 1952. His body was discovered on the floor of his home 3 weeks after his death.
Good. I hope he rotted.
Yeah. I know, it made me feel a little bit better. I was like, wait, your wife is still taking care of you even though you still have this doll.
Rose!
Yeah, but then when I found out like it took 3 weeks for his body to be discovered, I'm like, maybe she wasn't taking that good of care of you and good for her. It took 3
I
weeks.
support it. If that was it, I support it. I'm down for it.
Yeah, there is a supposed confession of his murder. Like there is a note or something that some construction workers found in his apartment talking about how he like mercy killed her, but I don't know if I believe it. It's like some of the stuff like comes up.
No, because I
later.
feel like he would have wanted her just to stay sick or whatever to like spend.
Be alive and need him, and yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I
But like
buy it.
also if she didn't love him or have any romantic interest in him, which I don't blame her, then maybe he did kill her.
Maybe, but I feel like the thing, like they were accepting gifts and like he was coming over every day, and I just imagine like when you're like got tuberculosis, like it's like a wasting disease, like you just kind of like you don't have anything. I just see this like poor woman like laying on a couch being like, oh God, he's back. Okay.
So far, my least favorite Florida man story I've ever heard.
Yeah.
I was like,
Pretty.
Loki, I was like, we should start a series. We should do like one story, one Florida man story a month and do this as a series. I don't know. I don't know about that now.
Jared said he's like, I want a podcast that's like nothing but Florida man stories. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that they have a podcast that is nothing but Florida man
Of
stories.
course, someone's got to,
I'm
yeah.
like, I'm just looking for some weird history. Like I said, this started with just like some weird Florida history, and there's so much more. But yeah, I read this one and I was like, well, we got to talk about that.
What a strange turn of events.
Oh, you know what else made me really mad when I was looking at dates and stuff? So he takes that body in 1933. His youngest daughter dies in 1934. And he's a deadbeat dad, you know?
What did his
And then
daughter die
has
from?
diphtheria.
Okay.
Old-timey
Do you know what that
diseases.
was?
I think
Okay.
that one is one of those where you, like, can't stop shitting yourself. I could be wrong, though. There's a couple
Okay.
of those diseases. Like, they're all old-timey diseases.
Yeah.
Let's see, diphtheria. Just kidding.
Fun.
Sore throat, fever, and a barking cough. Easily preventable with the vaccine, but we didn't have those then.
Sounds like a variation of COVID.
I think it's just like
I feel like they all sound the same.
congestive.
Like,
I feel like there's like ear, nose, throat diseases, and then there's gastrointestinal diseases generally, and I guess tuberculosis is like lungs and body falling apart. They all sound terrible. They all sound
they sure
terrible,
do.
and they all make me grateful for living when I do.
That.
Okay, yeah. Any thoughts or questions?
You crossed several lines.
Just a light warm up for October for spooky season.
Are we gonna go to St. Augustine?
Okay.
We should do a ghost tour in St. Augustine. I know that some of them aren't great, but we should do one just to do one. But then we should also go through St. Augustine, though, in general, because there's also so much history that we haven't still talked about in St. Augustine. So
Or
I think we should do
Ybor.
one. I think we should do one just for the shits and giggles. But then the history, and then did you just say Ybor?
Mm-hmm.
That's where I got one of my first tattoos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
they got
little
like
sun
the
that's on my ankle.
Ybor, like, because that's closer, Tampa or whatever. It's they've got like the most haunted movie theater or something, and
No.
you're like, no, I'll take St. Augustine with their, Spanish cemetery. The whole town got wiped out by yellow fever cemetery. The Civil War cemetery. Bodies on bodies on bodies. I'll take those ghosts, not the haunted theater.
No, absolutely not. If anyone hasn't noticed yet, but I am extremely superstitious, okay? And Kaylee is like, I love ghost stories, and I'm like, if you read a ghost story, if you watch videos, if you do anything related that welcomes it into your house, basically, is my belief, and I am super against it, okay? Used to not be, but I am now super against it. And Kaylee just sits there and reads them just for fun, just because she can.
That's a good one when your eyes start watering.
You're horrible.
All right, well, I think that brings us to our end of our episode. Was that a fun one for you? Switch it up a little. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Please like, follow, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube or wherever you're listening. We really appreciate it. If you can leave us a 5-star review, that would be amazing. Help more people find our podcast and know what we're all about. Thank you so much for listening. And
please share your favorite Florida man stories. We're so curious. Also, if you have a Florida man story or if you guys if you guys want to continue hearing them, even though I don't always love them, comment and let us know. And 2, share your favorite story. If there's a story that you guys want us to talk about.
Yes, please. Yeah, we'd love to get some crowdsourced information. All right. Well, you can follow us everywhere at Our Florida Podcast. That's OUR Florida Podcast. And you can email us at ourfloridapodcast@gmail.com. Easy for me to say. All right. Bye, guys. Have a great week.
Bye.